How's it going, Play More fans? It is the Beneroll returning once again with some Draft League content on his own channel. What? So this is going to be our draft analysis for PPL Season 5. Now, I am playing as Playmore, but this has kind of been treated as a off-season, per se, as in not a weekly upload to the main Playmore channel. Reasoning for that, obviously, is the PM7 team is full focused on Legends ZA release and getting out amazing content for that, so I'm very excited to see what they do. I'm sure you guys are as well, and I'm excited to play the game in general. Even though there's not really any competitive aspect to Legends ZA, what will come out of the Megas and such in the future has me very excited, as I've loved a lot of the Megas that they've released so far. But PPL, man, Season 5, I was invited by Seabad, and I was just like, I don't know, I'm not going to be able to play as Playmore, but then I was like, wait, I technically can, and then if we have a really good run, we might make a Playmore video out of it in the future, but at the very least, I'll be uploading weekly here. So following this, I think I'm also going to do a tier list video on all the drafts, if you guys are very interested in what makes a good draft, or how I at least my thoughts on what makes a good draft, because obviously that does change person to person. But that being said, I believe we have 9 weeks or so for this season, and it is 2 divisions. We have the Scarlet Division and the Violet Division. I'm in the Scarlet one along with like Vandy, Linz, and a few other people. And then those divisions obviously have their own schedules for the entire season, and then come playoffs, I think it's the winner from each side then meets in the championship for the finals. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes, but it'll be pretty interesting. The draft was a little surprising. We did have a lot of points to spend. I think it was the same amount, actually, as Bubble at 115, but we needed 10 Pokemon minimum. It's just things were a lot cheaper in this compared to Bubble, allowing for a lot kind of like sweatier drafts, per se, where I like to, push people to use more of the bottom tier stuff, but they also had a 0-point Pokemon tier, which was very interesting. So it's like once you get your minimum 10 Pokemon, you can then get some 0-point Pokemon, which are obviously babies, like little cup Pokemon that aren't even good. So not like the exceptional little cup Pokemon that still cost 1 point, but makes for very good memes. That being said, I did get the 6th draft spot overall, and I was somewhat happy about it. Not really, because out of 14 people, that is dead center. And all I wanted was to be top 5, so I could like guarantee get something like top tier that I knew like was good, or something that I really wanted to use. And I was like praying for the 6th slot I might still be able to get either Terapagos or Darkrai. Those were just the main things I was hoping once I knew my draft spot. Darkrai went 4th and Terapagos went 5th, and I was crying on Vandy's floor in his room because we were already talking about the draft. So that wasn't great. Those 2 snipes already. Make sure you got your fingers out for counting. That is 2 snipes on the board. I really wanted Terapagos because I decided not to do it for Bubble. A lot of regret there. Really wish I had it over Greninja for the previous season, but hopefully I'll be able to use Terapagos at one point, man. It's just so versatile, so fat. Terra Shell's broken. Terra Starstorm is broken. And its move pool is just absolutely insane. So, and then I wanted to run back on Darkrai, because Darkrai is just so good. Like, it is so solid. And people that still think it is not good, they're stupid and using it incorrectly. Like, they're using it fully offensive. And they're trying to just, like, nasty plot every week instead of just trying to abuse just strong like choice spec sets or like bulky Will-O-Wisp or Hypnosis sets, which is just the best version for Darkrai, and the elite speed is like crazy. So that being said, I went with the next the Pokemon I think was still the strongest on the board after those went in Palafin Hero. This is Draft Zone, by the way, in case you guys want to use it. Is a very helpful site for planning drafts and such. Vandy actually introduced it to me last season, of Bubble and everything, so I think it's going to be nice for a little draft analysis style video here compared to Showdown, where it separates all the Pokemon. So Palafin, obviously very broken once you get it into its hero form. I do have to get in little baby Palafin before I can make it the hero upon coming back out into the battle. But then once you make that switch once, it is like this for the rest of the game, which is good. The base 160 attack here with the priority Jet Punch at base 60 Water Stab is the main reason Palafin is crazy. But also it gets like Wave Crash at 120 base power, which with a Choice Band just does crazy damage. And even Water Resists are more than likely getting 2-hit KO by a Choice Band Close Combat or a Choice Band Body Press, or sorry, not Body Press, Body Slam. So Choice Band is just the most consistent set for Palafin, just to be able to revenge kill anything you want, and more than likely clean up in the end game and just nuke whatever's in front of it if it's a slower, fatter mon. It can also still be run special, because it has 106 special attack, which is respectable when you consider the fact it has Boom Burst. So Choice Specs Boom Burst is a very viable set because you can still run Jet Punch on it. Because even if you do like no attack investment, your 160 stat is going to carry you a lot. So it's a very fun Pokemon to prep for. It has Flip Turn for momentum. Sorry, to prep with. It is not fun to prep for a Palafin. Unless you have a Terra Volcanion, which definitely makes it easier. But that being said, Palafin looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's something I have obviously wanted to use at one point this generation. That was kind of the intention for this draft, just use some stuff that I haven't, and be able to have some fun with it while making sure I don't get rusty for the next main season to play more and just stay in the scene, getting my practice in where I need it. So that being said, after I got Palafin, I knew there was 2 potential routes that I wanted to go with the team. It was either going to be a Rain team with Terra or Chaladon, or it was going to be a fun, very strong Terra Blaziken team to pair with Palafin in terms of just like sweeping through there. And after further consideration, I've never really been the biggest on like Rain teams in draft. I feel like there's always holes in your team once you come to the end of it. So I opted against the Archaladon and such. And I did opt to go with Terra Blaziken. And this does have speed boost. Let me actually put him on the screen. So I'm very excited to use this with Terra. I banned it with Terra and Bubble because I just felt like it'd be too strong. And now I get to try and use it and see if it was too strong. There are decent ways to like try and avoid speed boost within draft. Obviously, now you have Mirror Herb as potential. But the main thing is Blaziken sometimes needs to protect in order to get that guarantee speed boost. Because you can't just switch in Blaziken mid-turn and get a speed boost at the end of the turn. It has to be one full turn of it being on the field. Meaning a protect or a substitute or clicking whatever move. Like it has to be on the field and click a move in order for it to get the benefit. So you have to be very cautious of how people can play around it in order to get the most out of it. However, it can still catch a lot of people off guard just by being a Choice Band or Choice Scarf in order to get the most out of an offensive Terra, but the main benefit with Terra and the speed boost and sweeping potential is being a defensive Terra in order to play around whatever their Choice Scarfer more than likely is, or whatever priority they might have. Main thing, obviously, being Terra Ghost to avoid extreme speeds or mock punches, and then I can also be like something to resist. I can just go full Terra Fighting in order to have stronger close combat and resist Sucker Punch. If that wanted to be an option, I can go Terra Electric to hit the water types and avoid thunder waves or statics. And then I can even be like Terra Dragon, I guess, or water to, you know, consistently, or I guess grass is a better example, to resist the priority water type moves in like Aqua Jet or Water Shuriken, and then also resisting those ground type moves that might want to come out. So Blaziken can easily sweep some teams, and I think just pairing it with Palafin just sounds like so much fun. Just also the fact that both of these can just be powerhouses that people are absolutely worried about just destroying what's ever in front of it, going into their designated check, and I just clicked Flip Turn or U-Turn, and now I have momentum to go into the other threat is very funny. Both of these also being able to be special, I think, is big in prep. Specifically, Blaziken can easily be mixed between like the physical close combat and then the special overheat can definitely go a long way for it in certain situations with a life orb. I think that will definitely benefit me a few times around. So, Blaziken, I've always been a fan of in Draft League. Typically, always in low tiers. Obviously, when I've used it, that's when you guys last saw it on the Playmore season. And I used it in low tier even prior to that. Typically, my favorite breaker in a low tier Draft League format. But I have used Mega Blaziken in one of the only 1 or 2 seasons I've done of Uber's Draft League. Not a fan of it, by the way. Uber's Draft League, at least. I was a fan of Mega Blaziken. It was one of the top kill leaders in the league, and it did bring me to finals, where I was a runner-up. Didn't win it, but it was fine. It was very fun. I had it with Dialga. And it's definitely a powerhouse. So I think having a boosting item in Life Orb or Expert Bell, and then still potentially getting a damage boost with Terror as well, it's going to be feeling very similar to Mega Blaziken, apart from the fact that I'm only 80 base speed compared to the 100 for Mega Blaziken. So definitely going to have to be cautious of my Choice Scarfers week in and week out with Blaziken, and how to get around that. But I feel like my team can consistently do that. So that being said, after getting Terra Blaziken, I tried to look at what I really wanted to pair with it, and I felt like the most broken pairing was right there in front of me, to give the best support for the team already with Hazards, Knockoff, and Pivoting, and Gliscor. Gliscor felt too good for the team, and it was too good to be true because it got sniped. So that's the 3rd snipe for the team. Realistically, if I knew I wanted that pairing, I think I would have gotten Gliscor first. However, I really wanted to use Blaziken, so me getting it first and Gliscor being taken is whatever. Gliscor deserves to go round 2 or 3 anyways, so it is what it is. So I was still considering a few other Terras that I wanted later on, but nothing was worth it to get now. So when it made it back to me, I still wanted to highly debate on one of the stronger hazard setters on the board. I was like, I will literally take Glimmora or any Ogre Pawn, not Hearthflame, and be happy. So that being said, there's a really broken Pokemon still on the board that I haven't used this generation that is new in Generation 9. And I'm just going to do it, and if I regret it later, I regret it later. And I got Gholdengo. Good as gold with Gholdengo's defensive capabilities and offensive capabilities, or is just incredibly broken. Just being able to keep hazards up on the field, especially with how Palafin and Blaziken likes to abuse hazards in order to get in the perfect win condition, felt really solid with the team. So obviously just being a top tier steel type as well is really essential. And just keeping those hazards up between blocking Defog, blocking Rapid Spin, obviously potentially the Mortal Spin as well. Because there's only a few things that can actually remove hazards in the face of Gholdengo. I'm pretty sure it's just Mold Breaker, Hawlucha. There might be another one, but I don't care. Gholdengo is looking very good for the squad, as long as I can get some good hazards after this to make sure I can keep them up on the side of the field. And it's a very solid, strong special breaker already to pair with the Pokemon that prefer to be physical. Like I said, they can be special, but it is good to have a strong special breaker like Gholdengo to pair with the physical capabilities of Palafin and Blaziken. Additionally, Gholdengo is very good at spreading Thunder Wave, because it really likes to just be a bulky set week in and week out with Make It Rain and Shadow Ball. And then you get to choose whether you want to be Nasty Plot, Recover, Thunder Wave. Maybe you want to be Screens. You can also be Choice Scarf or Choice Specs with Trick. Gholdengo has a few options, but it's never really insanely versatile. It's just got 3 or 4 very consistent sets, if that makes sense. And it's just hard to prep for in general because Make It Rain is extremely strong on Gholdengo, and it's just hard to deal with a base 120 power move like Draco Meteor, but only drops your special attack stage by 1 compared to 2. So very excited to use Gholdengo. As long as I'm able to get good hazards, I'm happy about it. And that being said, I was looking at my hazards that I wanted drop like flies after I picked Gholdengo. Glimmora went, Ogerpon went, Ogerpon Cornerstone went, Ogerpon Wellspring went. Specifically, the same team that got Glimmora got Ogerpon Wellspring, and I was very mad. Like I said, I didn't want to use Hearthflame because I didn't want an Ogerpon that didn't resist ground unless it was Cornerstone because of Sturdy. And then I also already had Blaziken, so it didn't feel that special anyways. And then also, 25% from Stealth Rocks every time because he can't run Boots. It didn't benefit my team. Ended up going to Vandy, and I think it looks great on his team. Excited to see how he uses it. But That being said, all the hazard mons that I wanted left, and I was pissed off. So if we wanted to add them all up, I believe that is 7 snipes already at this point, and is only my 4th pick that I'm going into. So I wanted to go ahead and get something that I knew was going to be very strong, consistent hazards for my team. Still getting a necessary typing for my team as well checked off. And then I could just try and figure out where to recover with the rest of the team later on. And that felt like Diancie. There was definitely a lot of like other spike setters I could consider. Obviously, I debated Clefable here as well. Just because it can't get up Stealth Rocks, it's still the Fairy typing. However, I really wanted to focus on really solid spikes. So I was happy I went with Diancie. I also feel like it was a good price, relatively speaking. I think it was only like 8 points or something like that. So I can get a lot out of Diancie for that. Obviously, you run max HP every week, but then you focus on where you want to either split your investment in defense and special defense or fully invest in one of them overall, or you can be offensive with Trick Room plus Meteor Beam with a Power Herb. It's a very strong set this generation. You can even be Rock Polish as well if you are trying to go for the full-on sweep and not be limited to the few turns of Trick Room that you have available. But being able to have Trick Room in comparison, while being paired with the strong priority in Jet Punch, Palafin, and the Speed Boost Blaziken, I think is very cool to have that just as an option. But Diancie just does so good in nearly every matchup because of its offensive capabilities and defensive capabilities that it felt really good with the team. Obviously, there is an outstanding ground weakness that is standing out. That happens, but I did have things in mind in order to patch that. So that being said, after these snipes and I got these Pokemon, I sat down for quite a few hours to build out what I wanted for this team. And I felt like I came to a good conclusion for the draft plan for the next few picks. One of which was Rillaboom, just to like round out my Fire, Water, Grass core. But then I get something that weakens the Earthquake coverage if they try to bring that for my team. Surprisingly, a lot of ground types get high horsepower now. They introduce grassy terrain and they're like, no, I guess it's too strong. Here, ground types. Even though you're a Sandaconda, get high horsepower. Why a snake has a horse move, I do not know. So even though some of them have coverage, the ones that don't get stab really ground is the ones that only have like Earthquake and Bulldoze and stuff like that. And I can still abuse that. So that felt really good. I've used Rillaboom plenty of times before. Also, just the passive recovery for my team members felt great too. Even though it happens for my opponent as well, I feel like I can play around it better knowing whether or not I'm bringing it. They have to bank on whether or not I'm bringing it. And then as I added it to the team and everything, I was about to pick. I look at the draft doc. I realized the dude were right behind me. Ark was going for a grassy terrain team. And I picked before him, so I had to do it. But boy, did I feel like a jackass. Because this man had Sneasler, he had Lando Eye, and he had Heatran. It was the most transparent I'm getting Rillaboom team ever, but he let Rillaboom sit for too long, and I got it right before him, and I apologized as I did it. But only with a slight bit of like true, genuine I'm sorry, because I got sniped so many times already at this point. Because I really like Rillaboom with the team. Not trying to copy Uzi with Palafin plus Rillaboom. It just happened. But I'm very happy with it. I've used Rillaboom quite a few times before. It's a very reliable Pokemon. The damage output is really great, and the defensive focus for the team is great as well. Like I said, really trying to punish those ground types that are trying to break through Gholdengo and Diancie. That's going to be a big benefit for me already. Leech Seed with leftovers and grassy terrain really makes it a Pokemon hard to break through sometimes and very annoying with how consistent it can just get off chip in over time, even within the terrain. And just being able to knock off to remove items between Rillaboom and Blaziken can really help. Get rid of Rocky Helmet that I might see a decent amount with this team. Potential Assault Vest for Gholdengo. And then once again, I have U-turn momentum with Rillaboom, which is the main thing here to get in the other heavy hitters, which is great. So Rillaboom very consistent in that aspect. But now the worry that I had before in facing some Terra Dragon in order to deal with Palafin plus Blaziken is now even more likely because I got Rillaboom with the strong grass moves, and of course Grassy Glide in general. So I had to be very cautious of facing Terra Dragon. I want to make sure I can get a dragon that can abuse the fact if they go into Dragon, now they are very weak to a Draco Meteor, and then Diancie obviously still pressures them a decent amount, but just keeping that in mind. So that being said, I already knew, like I said, the next pick that I wanted here, and very happy that it made it back to me because it was the second Terra captain that I wanted on the team that I felt like was great. And I definitely got the most bang for my buck in comparison to Blaziken, and that is Hydreigon. So already back-to-back in Rillaboom and Hydreigon, I really help with that ground weakness. Now getting Levitate in comparison with the grassy terrain. Hydreigon really strong with Terra, dude. Obviously, the main ways that like to use it are Terra Poison, because now with Levitate, you only have one weakness in Psychic, which you are naturally immune to before Terra. So they have to be really ballsy to click that in your face if you have not Terra'd yet. And then Terra Steel, because even though you share the fighting type weakness, you get more resistances. And both the Terra Poison and the Terra Steel are now able to break through the fairy types that make Hydreigon cry. So, sorry. Losing my voice because I did a whole draft analysis before this and accidentally my background music went to copyrighted music. So now I have to redo this and you guys are getting no music. So sorry about that. Also, you can probably hear me getting sick actively right now. So make sure to get your flu shots, kids. Hydreigon, though, very strong with Terra just to be able to break through teams and has a lot of defensive capabilities as well. Gives me a secondary Stealth Rocker to pair with Diancie, which is great. Once again, gets U-turn for more momentum. Very big. It does also have the capability still of being like a Dragonite sweeper if it really wants to, but Nasty Plot is obviously its more ideal setup move to abuse that base 125 special attack with the strong Draco Meteors and Dark Pulses. Terra Blast coverage will go a long way for this Pokemon if it needs it. But it's just a very reliable Pokemon. It's unfortunate that it doesn't have Roost in this generation, although it would have been a lot more expensive with Terra and such if it did have Roost still. But a very good Pokemon. I think an essential speed tier for me, even though it's very similar to Palafin. Palafin nearly always wants to run Adamant in order to get the strongest Jet Punch available. So that being said, Palafin speed tier is actually just a little bit faster than Rillaboom's if you look at it in that aspect. While Hydreigon actually forces those base 100s to consistently be closer to a max speed stat in order to always outspeed Hydreigon, especially if that is their choice Scarfer of choice against my team because of Blaziken. So that can already force a lot of stuff there, and it's going to be more obvious for those base 100s more than likely when I look at it in the matchup. So Hydreigon himself being a very consistent choice Scarfer as well. Choice Scarf and choice specs are always kind of what you see the most out of this Pokemon, but it's still very good as like a bulky Nasty Plot variant with leftovers. It can run the Roselli Berry if it needs to in certain matchups if I don't want to use Terra on it. Or just being like Life Orb and just clicking whatever move I want because screw it. It has a lot of capabilities. So Hydreigon I've only used I think once before. But I'm very excited to use it again, especially with Terra. I think with Terra on this and Blaziken, the offensive capabilities make the team very strong. So that being said, I tried to build out the rest of my team from this point, and I had a lot of good options, and then immediately they all started to go. I wanted Ribombee for elite speed and webs on the team to pair with Gholdengo so they never go away. Ribombee was taken. I wanted Ursaluna in order to have a strong ground type that clicks Headlong Rush that doesn't care about grassy terrain. And then it gets Grassy Tamer Recovery in order to counteract the Flame Orb damage. And then additionally, it can be like Spadef Leftovers Bulk Up and just be a menace. And that was taken before it got back to me. And then I also wanted Tentacruel for my Hazard Remover and my Bulky Water and Grounded Poison type to really help out the team. That went, and I wanted Thundurus for another ground immunity, good flying type, although I wouldn't be getting Terra with it. Just a strong Pokemon overall, because I could change Terra between Hydreigon and Thundurus if I wanted to. Thundurus went as well. So yeah, that was very cool. So that brought me up to like 11 snipes all within like one round, and I threw my head like into the wall. And it left a dent on the wall and not my bald head because I'm like very strong like that and very smart. So big brain. I didn't actually do that. But I was very upset. And if I was in a showdown league, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I think I would have dropped at that point. because I was so incredibly upset. Um, but it's a respectable league and is and I didn't want to do that. So I decided to power through and I went with the safest thing for my team. And thank goodness he was at least still available. That I have a good rapid spinner and a good ground type, and that is Donphan. This was definitely the smarter choice, anyways, over Ursaluna in terms of like the support for the team with rapid spin. But I wanted Bear to do funny bear things. And the fact I couldn't get Tentacruel with Bear is kind of like the main like downfall afterwards for the team. But we get Donphan, very strong physical attacker and defensive wall. Sturdy with heavy duty boots, we know is very consistent. Shoutouts to Alolan Golem. Just to be like, no, don't end my life, please. If hazards are up on the field and they have a sweeper and whatnot. It's a good Rocky Helmet user, a good Assault Vest user. Leftovers and Grassy Terrain is going to be very nice as well in order to get our Sturdy back if we really want to. And I do have high horsepower in order to have a ground type move that doesn't get hindered in the grassy terrain. And I actually like don't even remember, does Donphan get Headlong Rush? No, he doesn't. That's mean. But it's fine. So we have high horsepower, which is still consistent. And you do have like the Ice Shard for priority. He does have Ice Spinner now as a stronger option if I wanted to remove opposing terrain, as it might be Psychic or Electric, in order to abuse some like Paradox Pokemon or something like that. But Donphan's always been like one of the more consistent rapid spinners, always has been. Knockoff for the team, further giving me that support with the other Pokemon to remove items is very good. And then just another Stealth Rocker. So I have amazing Stealth Rock options between Diancie and Donphan alone, but also having them on Hydreigon if I bring a bulkier variant goes a long way too. Or if I want to focus on offensive Diancie or an Assault Vest Donphan, Hydreigon can support them that way. So Donphan with the Essential Ground type, now that's covered. I still need to focus on speed. I went with the obvious choice because I have terrain. It is what it is. I ended up getting Hawlucha. Already used Hawlucha with Rillaboom before, actually earlier this generation. It's still really strong. So it's a little bit awkward though, because even though Hawlucha is 118 speed, which is pretty good in comparison to everything, it is nicer to always get a 120 or higher if you can. But additionally, Hawlucha only has that 92 base attack, so homie definitely likes to be adamant when he's on Burden compared to Jolly. So not really like the best speed tier for my team necessarily, but it's what I gotta work with at this point because all the speed effing went and I got sniped of it. So obviously Unburden Grassy Seed with Hawlucha is the main way to use it on this team. However, I could still be like White Herb if I wanted to, Citrus Berry Unburden, but then like Mold Breaker can also be very consistent for like pivoting around and doing other stuff. And then I also don't have to worry about some other team having the Mold Breaker default Hawlucha against my Gholdengo. I can just focus on keeping my hazards up and walling with Gholdengo as much as I need to. So Hawlucha has a lot of capabilities. I'm very excited to see Mega Hawlucha, by the way, in Legends EA. What it can do in future competitive scenes. I think... Well, I guess we don't know if they're going to be in Showdown until we know their abilities and stuff for the future, but we'll see. Either way, Hawlucha, very solid Pokemon. I've used it at least twice before on terrain teams. I know I've used it on with Rillaboom, like I said, and I've also used it on a Psychic terrain team before. I don't think I ever did Coco Lucha. But a very strong Pokemon nonetheless for setup sweeping potential to pair with the other mons. And if they focus too much on Unburden, if I bring Hawlucha plus Rillaboom, and then it's just kind of like a Choice Band or a Choice Scarf Hawlucha, because I have done that before, or like a bulky support with like Encore and setup, and it's not even Unburden, then I can really break through them that way. Because Mold Breaker can still be very clutch in certain matchups in order to avoid like Sturdy on Pokemon like Donphan and things along those lines. So... love Hawlucha. It's going to be pretty consistent for the team. Just wish I had another form of elite speed for the team because that is unfortunately as fast as I'm going to get. And I don't really think that's great. But the team's very bulky and strong, so I think I can still make do, especially with speed boost on Blaziken and the strong priority options I have. So next up is a defensive mon that I'm pretty excited to use, to be honest. I've used it before, but I think it was in a league that like died off, so I didn't get to use it the entire time. And that is Deoxys-Defense. This was actually something I debated really earlier on in the draft, and I knew it would sit, so I didn't worry about it. But I wasn't sure if I'd still want to go with it, and that's why I went Diancie as my spikes. But now I have another form of spikes, Deoxys-Defense. So it does also get Stealth Rocks as well. It gets the Thunder Wave support. Very versatile Pokemon. I'm happy to use it. Obviously, you can do a lot with like the Cosmic Power Stored Power sets. You can do the Cosmic Power Taunt Nightshade variant just to be full like Stall Breaker. Especially if you're able to taunt the slower things so they can't recover and just break through their team that way. You can't let them like Toxic you, whatever it is. They can be very consistent in that aspect. But I think the biggest benefit with getting Deoxys on this team is that it's one of the few Pokemon that still benefit from Teleport. Teleport being a negative priority move that lets me safely switch into one of my Pokemon. So this is big for letting Hawlucha set up for free if given the perfect instance with Terrain up. Lets me get Palafin in to click a Choice Band Wave Crash if I want to. Blaziken in to get the perfect setup now with Speed Boost, etc., etc. So I think Teleport with the team is going to be great. I have a really strong pivoting with the team, which doesn't end as I do get it with the next Pokemon as well. But once again, just kind of like pairs well with Diancie in the aspect of I can meld the defensive capabilities however I want to each week. My opponent has to respect both a physically defensive version and a specially defensive version depending on the matchup. And obviously mixed is going to go a long way too. Okay, and then after that, after 11 snipes, I got sniped one more time for an even dozen. And that was Toxapex. I got sniped of Toxapex in Generation 9. What is this crap, dude? I wanted it as my bulky water, because the team definitely got a little bit weaker to ice over time. And then another way to deal with fairies a little bit more if I didn't want to have too much pressure on Gholdengo. Because I needed a grounded poison anyways. So Toxapex went. And that's because also would have been another low HP, high defense mon like Deoxys and Diancie, and it would have been pretty funny. And I think with a lot of my pivoting, I definitely would have made the most of it too. And in grassy terrain as well, it would have been even harder to kill. So it sucks. It went. But we got another water poison that was in the same tier. I don't know why it was in the same tier. I don't think this mon is that good. But it is Qwilfish. Intimidate is solid. It does get Flip Turn this generation, which is the main thing. But Spikes and Toxic Spikes to once again to pair with the Gholdengo is great. The Flip Turn pivoting is just kind of the main thing. But I just needed the extra water for an actual bulky water, and obviously a grounded poison is always necessary in order to remove those Toxic Spikes without actually having to click a form of hazard removal. So very essential for the team. I just got sniped of all the versions that I wanted out of these rolls. So still ended up getting a water poison though. It just sucks that he can't run the Eviolite because this dude is not that bulky. Obviously special moves are still going to be able to break through this pretty easily. And then more than likely you like to be more defensive just to make sure with Intimidate that you're walling whatever you're wanting to switch into. So we'll see how Qwilfish can do. I don't have that much faith in it, but that being said, this runs at the main version of our team. And I can now get my 0 pointers because once you get your 10 Pokemon minimum, you can now get your as many 0 pointers as you want depending on how many slots you have left. So I still can get 2 more 0 point Pokemon that I want. I can even get one with Terra because Terra is also free on them, which I think is funny. So that being said, there was 2 Pokemon on my mind, one being a web setter because there are a few in the 0 point tier where I can get up webs depending on the matchup if they're not expecting it. And then obviously keep them up with Gholdengo. So that being said, I looked at a few web setters. There was Surskit that was base 65 speed, the fastest web setter available there. And then Sewaddle, which was the bulkiest web setter. And I decided to go with the bulkier option because I just felt like he was better potentially with Terra if it lets me get off webs easier. I could be wrong on this, but I really don't care. I also just like Sewaddle more compared to Surskit. That was honestly my reasoning, plain and simple. But I mean, 70 defense and 60 special defense. If he holds in a Violate and I just change his crappy typing of Bug Grass to whatever I want, those webs are getting up unless they have Taunt. And that's going to be just very good for the team because once again, I have plenty of knockoff on the team in order to remove heavy duty boots. And then if they're like a random copycat set or something like that, I do have Rapspin on Donphan to remove that as well. Or I can defog with Hawlucha, and if Sewaddle can still get him up later, then boom, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom. You know what I'm saying? Swaddle I will probably bring to one game, like guaranteed at least one game, in order to get up webs and really punish my opponent. So it'll be very funny if I can make it work, or if it can even pick up a kill. I think that would be absolutely hilarious. But we'll see, man. I might regret not getting Surskit. I don't really care. Surskit did go to Ellie, I believe, so it was still picked up, which is no surprise that it went in both divisions, because it is definitely just like the best 0-point Pokemon available, because of webs and its speed. But I think Swaddle is cute and a funny little guy. So, and then lastly, I knew I needed my Bubby for this season, so I picked up Bubby Jr. Forget Greninja, we're getting the real powerhouse in Froakie. So I'm definitely going to bring Froakie at least once in the regular season just to see if he can get a kill. Unless it comes too close to the end of the season, I'm still trying to secure playoffs. Then I can't bring the guy. But at least we have Bubby on the team nonetheless. I think that is the main thing we need to look at here, folks. But if he can get a kill, it's going to be absolutely hilarious. That being said, this is the squad. I'm neutral about it. I don't think it's exceptional. However, I think it is a solid team. Obviously, the main weakness is my speed. But I think it's okay because of the Unburden with Hawlucha, the strong Jet Punch and Palafin, Grassy Glide on Rillaboom, and the speed boost on Blaziken is already like something extremely strong with the team. And then I obviously do have Trick Room potential with Diancie. Diancie and Donphan can hit really hard within Trick Room, which is the main thing to get across there. But the team's also very bulky, which is great. Like, it's just strong, consistent, bulky offense. And my pivoting is very strong. I've struggled for so many previous Playmore seasons on my pivoting options, to where even though I felt like I had good pivoting on the last team in Bubble, Greninja, if it's a Protean Specs variant, it just wants to click. It doesn't want to click U-turn. You want to just get damage and have the rest of the Pokemon clean up. And then if it's obviously Battle Bond, you're not going to be a U-turn variant anyways, because you only have the one chance for you to be able to sweep. And then like it was Volt Switch on like Iron Treads. That's not realistic to bring. He has Moveslot Syndrome. It's like so difficult to put Volt Switch on in most scenarios because you want to do a lot of things. You wanted to, Rapid Spin to remove hazards, Stealth Rocks to potentially get up your own, Knock Off to remove, and then potentially steal your stabs or Ice Spinner. Like, it was so difficult to fit Volt Switch on him. And, like, Scream Tail had Baton Pass, but Scream Tail, oh my god, you want 8 moves on that thing at once. I can never Baton Pass with it. But this team, if I'm not Unburdened Hawlucha, I do have U-Turn. I have Flip Turn Palafin, I have U-Turn Hydreigon, I have Teleport Deoxys, I have U-Turn Rillaboom, I have Flip Turn Qwilfish, I have U-Turn Blaziken, and I think Diancie gets Baton Pass. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't care. At that point, I'm still consistent with the amount of pivoting I have on the team. Oh, and of course, U-Turn Froakie. My bad. Really, really do like that with the team, especially with the hazards I'm able to get up and keep up, ideally with Gholdengo. I'm going to keep reiterating that because ideally I'm going to bring Gholdengo as much as possible is probably what I'll aim for. Spoiler alert, I actually don't even bring him for week 1. But it's pretty funny. But yeah, speaking of week 1, we are going to face Vandy, my beloved roommate, once again. He is back in draft, and I'm very excited about it. We ended up in the same division, just like Lynn's once again, which is funny. I'll face both of them again this season. He has a much stronger team this time around. He drafted very well. I only helped him out a little bit. I think his team is significantly better than his last team, and I think it's going to fit his play style more now that he figured that out in the first season of Bubble. So I'm very excited to see that game. But also at the time, still heavily focused on Bubble playoffs. So I gave the matchup like one look built, and then that's going to be it going into the game. So we'll see how well I actually play. And I think I'm going to try and aim for that kind of the entire season and just kind of like relax more. To be honest, guys, Playmore definitely affects my mental health with how well I try to perform for you guys. And I let it get to me heavy on losses, and especially my misplays and such. Even though a lot of it, might be hindsight or, like stress gets to me, think about everything at the time. Want to do well and perform well. And that's kind of been a thing with Playmore ever since like season 2. Season 1, I definitely had a lot more fun because I wasn't worried about it because it was just like the initial season. Nothing felt heavy. But want to get that championship for you guys and everything. So, That being said, with this being kind of like more of an off season, being on my channel, I can be more laid back, provide you guys more informative commentary and stuff like that. I want to have more fun with it and just try out these new things and have a good time. Because I really just want to be able to enjoy draft and do what I can on this channel. So, that being said, I hope you guys stick around for the entire ride. And enjoy this content. Like I said, I'm definitely going to be a lot nerdier about things. I'm going to provide a team builder right before we get into the battle. I think I'm just going to display the team within the game. I think that's visually appealing and still easily for me to do, to go right to the battle and just cut the in between. So that being said, we'll see how the team does. I'm going to try and do a mockless season until if I get to playoffs, then I probably mock then. Because it still is top 8 out of the 14 coaches. So, just aiming for the upper 50% win rate. But we'll see, man. We'll see. The team is okay. It is okay. I think it's very strong in certain aspects and weak in others. Being speed. This is very different compared to my bubble team. So, but I think that's a good thing for me. But we'll see. And then last thing I just want to say here, the next video I'll probably get up related to PPL. I'm going to take a break, but probably still record it today, is going to be a tier list on all the draft teams. I know I'm specifically going to go over Scarlet. I'll probably still do Violet unless the video goes on for too long, but we'll see. At the very least, I'm going to do my own division and talk about the teams. So if you guys are wanting to see that, I'll probably upload it just a few days or so after this draft analysis. I'm not exactly sure what day, but before week 1. So, and I'm probably going to stick with Sunday uploads for week in, week out. So please look forward to that. It's going to be a fun season, and I hope you guys stick around for it. So thank you guys for watching.